All right, so for this deep dive, we're unpacking something that, well, it proves that sometimes the biggest impact comes from slowing right down. We're talking about downtempo, and our mission really is to figure out how this simple, unhurried music carries so much emotional weight. And, maybe more importantly, how it quietly took over, the entire modern listening world.
It's such a crucial study in how we listen to music now. I mean, think about it. If you've got genres like techno or house, they're all built for that big high-energy rush, right? The collective experience.
Yeah, for the club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But down-tempo, it's the counterpoint. It's that deep breath you take afterwards. It's the music designed for the quiet that follows all that chaos. Our sources really map this out beautifully.
They really do. And we're focusing on a genre that's defined, first and foremost, by its speed or lack of it. We're talking, what, 60 to 110 beats per minute?
Right around there, yeah. And that slow pulse is the key to how it manages to pull in all these different global influences.
And it's how it earned that title our sources gave it, the quiet ruler of the streaming age.
It really is. I think to set the stage, the definition is so important. Downtempo is, at its core, slow electronic music.
Yeah.
But the key is that it totally separates itself from the need to make people dance.
The purpose shifts.
It shifts completely. It's all about introspection, listening closely, and eventually became known as that whole chill-out aesthetic.
So if the intent is for quiet listening, what happens when you start mixing the ingredients together? Because it's obviously not just one sound, it's huge synthesis.
That's the fascinating part. It's almost misleading to call it a single genre. It works more like a confluence. Think of it less like a solid thing and more like a Venn diagram where all these major styles just overlap.
Okay, I like that. So what's in the diagram?
Well, first you've got the feel of ambient music, that weightless, expansive, almost spiritual quality that creates the space.
Right, the atmosphere.
Exactly. Then you bring in the rhythmic backbone, the groove from hip-hop. That's essential. And then on top of all that, you layer in the organic warmth and the complex harmonies from jazz and soul.
That sounds like a really tricky mix to get right. How does the electronic part not erase those more organic sounds?
That is the genius of it. The hip-hop beat is like the digital skeleton. It's often looped, it's rigid, it's the foundation. But the jazz and soul samples, a little piano chord here, some brush drums there, a vocal snippet, those are like the ghosts in the machine. They add that human touch, that feeling of improvisation running right on top of that digital precision. It is, by its very design, this intersection of machine and human feeling.
And the term itself is so broad, it ends up being a kind of umbrella. I mean, our sources are clear that chill out, trip hop, lounge music, they all kind of sit under the downtempo banner.
They absolutely do. They all share that same slow, relaxed core. That's the common thread.
So, connecting this back to the listener,
Yeah.
It's a conscious choice. It's like the musical version of trying to find some silence when you're surrounded by noise.
Precisely. It doesn't fight the outside world. It creates a whole internal one, a sonic space where you can just dissolve into the background hum of the city at night, instead of being pushed around by it.
To really get how that internal world got started, we have to go back to the late 80s, early 90s in the UK club scene.
Yes, the spiritual birthplace. The whole idea literally took shape as a physical space. The chill-out room.
Which didn't really exist before then, did it? Clubs were just about relentless energy.
Not at all. There was no sanctioned space for recovery. The chill-out room completely changed that. It was this small, often darker room tucked away from the main dance floor's brutal volume.
A place for people who needed to rest, talk, just come down for a minute.
And as soon as you have that space, you need a different kind of music for it. The DJs in there would play deep ambient tracks, slow dub records, old jazz.
Yeah.
And that became the direct blueprint for downtempo. It was music that helped you shift gears psychologically.
So it was born from a physical need. But then the sound itself starts splitting off, creating those two key geographical birthplaces.
That's right. You have to look at two totally different vectors that were happening at the same time in the early 90s.
Yeah.
First up, you've got the UK vector, Bristol, which gave us trip-hop.
Right, and you can't talk about this without mentioning Massive Attack, Portishead, Tricky. The Titans, they took those slow tempos and just injected them with this deep, deep moodiness.
They really did. Trip-hop was all about blending these super slow, heavily processed hip-hop breakbeats with layers of dub echo, samples from old soul and jazz records, this really dark electronic texture. Our sources call it the spiritual departure point for a reason. It gave the slow beat its depth, its melancholy.
It's that rainy 3 a.m. staring out the window in a city kind of music.
That's it, exactly. It's all internal drama. But then at the same time, thousands of miles away, you have the Mediterranean vector, Ibiza's Balearic chill, which was basically the polar opposite, all centered around the legendary Café Del Mar.
Ah, the sunset compilations. They are legendary.
And for good reason. What guys like Jose Padilla were doing there, it was crucial. He wasn't just playing records, he was curating an entire environment. He was finding the perfect mix of smooth instrumental tracks, soft guitars, ocean sounds, to literally soundtrack the sunset over the Mediterranean.
So he was creating sonic escapism, a kind of a resort-like calm, which was the direct opposite of the urban grit that Bristol was all about.
That is the perfect way to put it. That's the dual origin. Bristol gave us the moody, inward-looking urban melancholy of trip-hop, and Ibiza gave us the serene, outward-looking escapism of Balearic chill. And those two poles, the deep dive in versus the expansive escape out, that's the emotional range of the whole genre.
That explains so much. Okay, so if the history set up the emotional territory, let's get into the mechanics. What are the technical things that make a track feel like one or the other? How does it avoid just being dull background noise? What's the architecture?
Well, a lot of it comes down to restraint and some very specific audio engineering. We mentioned the tempo, 60 to 110 BPM. The key insight there is that the lower end of that, 60 to 80 BPM, that's often slower than a resting human heart rate.
Oh, wow.
So the music is physically, almost subliminally, coaxing your body into a state of relaxation, not excitement.
Right, it's calming you down instead of hyping you up like a 128 BPM house track would.
Exactly. But it still needs groove, or it would just be a lullaby. The rhythm is so often built on those hip-hop breakbeats. But instead of speeding them up and chopping them aggressively, they're slowed way down, filtered, and really emphasized for their swing and their shuffle.
And the sound itself has to be warm, right? If it was slow and cold or sterile, it would just feel bleak.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the bass lines come in. Downtempo is defined by these deep, warm, sustained sub-bass frequencies. They're not just driving the track. They're like a physical cushion of sound.
A cushion. I like that.
And you pair that with pads and samples that are just drenched in effects, reverb, delay, filters, to create that sense of a huge internal floating space.
So the pads are building the room, the atmosphere.
Yes, the atmosphere is everything. It's what makes you feel like you're inside the sound. And the instrumentation is always this fiction of organic and synthetic. You'll hear electronic sounds right next to acoustic guitars, recorded rain, and tons of samples from jazz, bossa nova, reggae.
That's so true. That integration of jazz and bossa nova is really noticeable. It adds this texture, this feeling of being connected to something global, so it's not just another synth loop.
And that diversity is what allowed the genre to branch out so successfully after the 90s. The original chill-out room idea just spun out into all these different subgenres for different settings.
Yeah, we saw lounge music become its own thing, right? The soundtrack for slick hotels and cafes. You had groups like Thievery Corporation who were just masters of that sound.
And the Balearic or chill-out sound just doubled down on its connection to beach culture, to that aspirational lifestyle, with the Café Del Mar compilations becoming this huge brand.
But the big one, the really dominant evolution in the last decade, has to be lo-fi hip-hop. That's the new stream. It's just this massive, unstoppable force that took the core down-tempo idea and paired it with nostalgia and jazz.
Which brings us right to its quiet ruler status in the 2020s. Downtempo, through lo-fi and chill-hop, has found this truly massive popularity on streaming playlists that are defined by function.
It shifted from music you listen to music you use.
Exactly. Playlists like Relax, Concentration, Study Beats, they are the modern global chill-out room. Our sources point out that this explosion happened because the music is so useful for managing your psychological state. Lo-fi, with that vinyl crackle and those muted sounds, it gives your brain something to listen to, but without distracting you. It helps you focus.
So the crackle isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's functional. It adds this layer of history, of familiarity, making it feel safe.
That sense of safety is key. The music caters directly to daily life now, blurring the lines with pure ambient sound. It's designed to create a gentle, constant flow state.
And it has crept into everything. Post-trip hop sounds are all over modern media. Film scores, video games, fashion campaigns. It's the sophisticated background hum of our culture because it sets a mood instantly without overpowering anything.
And it's still evolving. You've got contemporary artists constantly refining the sound, someone like Bonobo, who brings in so much rhythmic complexity, or Tycho, who really leans into that cinematic Balearic side. You even have bands like Kruang Bin with their slow, dubbed-out funk, which is pure down-tempo ethos. And then artists like Pictured Resort or Kush are pushing that deeply introspective sound even further.
So we followed it from a grimy UK club and a sunny Spanish beach all the way to a global study soundtrack. What's the final takeaway? Why does this slow music have such a hold on our busy lives?
At the end of the day, down-tempo is the art of soothing emotion. Its main function is recovery. It's the direct opposite of the chaos of party culture. It offers functional support for concentration, for relaxation. It works on your mood without demanding all of your attention.
It's almost a countercultural statement. In a world that is obsessed with speed, with acceleration, with getting more done, the choice to consciously slow down, which is the whole point of downtempo, feels like a really radical and deeply human act. Its power isn't in speed, it's in its ability to go deep and create that internal space.
Which leaves us with a thought for you, the listener. If downtempo helps us feel like we're regaining time, like we're creating space to think instead of just consuming more, what other musical choices do you make in your life? Specifically, pull yourself out of the rush and, regain control of your own inner pace.